I think infrastructure policy is so vitally important because it's so relevant to all of our lives. It means better access to markets, and it means a better economy, and it means more wealth creation for our middle class, and it means safety as we go to and from work. The biggest failure in Washington today is not a lack of funding, it is a lack of imagination. It is a lack of leadership. That's the biggest problem in Washington today. And we cannot do this unless we work together. We cannot do this unless we do it in a bipartisan fashion. We need a 5-year or longer bill. We ought to be north of $500 billion to $600 billion. And I personally would like to see us develop a capital budget for the United States. I'd like to see us develop a goal of spending, 3 or 4% of our GDP on infrastructure for a 10-year period so that we can do the things that we know will create a new generation of wealth for the American people, and wealth that is broadly shared, where middle-class families can feel like they're doing well again. And I'm delighted to have the short-term job creation, but that isn't why I would do it. This isn't some pork barrel short-term jobs project. The point is to invest in the United States of America at a healthy clip for a decade. And that is why the biggest problem is a failure of imagination, because that conversation needs to be led by the next candidate for president, agreeing on a framework, or at least on a national goal, of making these kinds of investments. And what I'm always fascinated by is that we have become accustomed to thinking that we are a impoverished country, that we are a poor country. This is because we have lacked fiscal discipline, and Lord knows my party has a lot to answer for on that. But in the presence of fiscal discipline, no smart business owner, no matter how conservative you are, no one intelligently would stop investing in your fundamental infrastructure, because we know that the return on that investment is far greater than the amount invested. It's just basic economics. And if you look at the history of most major infrastructure projects in American history, they have been a tremendous value. I mean, look at the interstate highway system. Look at our rail system. I mean, in New York, look at the Erie Canal. What's fascinating about the Erie Canal in 1823 is that represented 1% of American GDP, that project, the cost of that project. That would be $170 billion today, 1% of GDP. Guess who paid for it? The state of New York. The state paid for it, 1% of American GDP. The point is that we are making choices in this country, and we should make the choice to invest in our own people and in our own infrastructure. And we can do it. Sign me up for a plan to balance the budget. Sign me up for a plan to keep operating expenses in balance. But we should invest in a capital budget for the United States the way our parents and our grandparents did, to all of our benefit.